Alright friends, welcome back again to another episode of Tactical Enlightenment. This YouTube channel is dedicated to all things Bannerlord related, and we are going to have another village battle here in today's episode. We have this village of Kukwa. There's a bunch of these different villages in the Aserai territory, and I think these can be tremendously valuable. The reason I say there's a bunch is that this is a very commonly replicated map, and it's highly defensible. It has a funnel that I think is going to be successful even against an immensely powerful army like this. Look at that, 370 elite Manavliatons, 89 elite Cataphracts. Make sure we have the proper weapon loadout of the strong polearm, fast axe, and 2 tranches of javelins here. And we will give this a shot here. Now, we have a very strong army ourselves. We probably have 80 to 100 Battanian Fiend Champs and other high-level, high-ranked troops. So despite being outnumbered by 3 to 1, we certainly have the type of army to give this a good shot of victory here. Now, look at this village map, right? And there are multiple villages that look just like this. Look at this funnel between these 2 different cliffs. There's this water, this shallow water on the right, and there are all these different farming pens with implements, with sticks and fucking huts, and these little hay piles or whatever they are. It's perfect for breaking up cav charges, for sort of grouping the enemy into slaughter pens, and we're going to use those to do exactly that. Now, I'm going to be using my 4th division here in a square. I don't have a lot of infantry that are sort of standard spear infantry in my army. I was looking over my army before I started the battle. So the 1st infantry and the 4th archers will be used in a defensive square, especially once their ammunition is running low. Now, the 6th Corps skirmishers, I will probably either put on, let's see, I think we'll put the 3rd Corps on the left here. The 1st Corps, of course, is going to, again, also act as a shield, right? Those will be, I don't want to say sacrificial, but defensive units. These guys, these shock troops and elite javelin throwing motherfuckers here. Let's put them, I think we'll put them on the left flank. 6th Corps on the right, anchored there with an archer corps. The 6th Corps has a nice mix of skirmishers, and there's even some Battanian Fiends in there. That's perfect. So the 6th and 4th, or maybe the 6th and the 5th on the right flank. And what we're effectively going to try to do here is funnel the enemy between these destructive forces. Let's see, I can set up the 7th. I normally don't do this. It's a horse archer division, but because there's only 2 horse archers, what we can do is we can actually change these divisions so that the 7th is your square distractionary division. The 2nd Cav has a lot of javelin throwers, and I don't want to waste those guys in a square early on. Increased charge damage, that's fine. I wish I had a different banner, but she'll do fine for the captain. The second Corps, frankly, is going to be in the middle of the battle, just not up front like the square. The 7th Cav, I'm going to actually use like right in that pathway to try to block up the enemy's approach. Alright, so they're almost 400 units away. We've got a good 30 seconds here, 60 seconds here to spread out our units. So on this side, again, the 3rd Corps, and I guess we'll do the 5th. It's a little bit tight here. I wish I had a little bit more room, but look at how nicely protected it is, right? These cannot be hit by enemy archers. They have to come around that corner, and when they do, of course, they're already being drawn a bead on them. In the middle, of course, we'll put our infantry in a shield wall. Over here, I want to do the 6th. That's skirmishers and archers. Although I'd rather have the 4th in front. Let's try putting the 4th in front. This is a crossbow division, so these guys have shields and the ability to turn into a square. Plus, because they're crossbow divisions, they're going to shoot at longer range, and they can go defensive earlier in the battle, right? They will run out of bolts faster than Battanian Fiends and other high-level archers. So we'll put the 6th Corps behind the 4th and anticipate using that 4th Corps defensively. Meanwhile, I'm bringing the 7th forward. The 7th, like I said, is going to be a bit of a sacrifice, right? These guys drew the short straw. They're going to be the ones taking the brunt of this enormous assault of Manavliatons. And what we'll do to help them is we'll move the square, right? We won't just leave it static where they get butchered. For now, though, they're going to basically stick their fat butts right in the middle of that pathway and try to slow this enemy assault. As you see, the enemy is just getting, the initial guys have absolutely no chance against this assault. But I want to conserve ammo here. We're throwing way too many javelins, so let's hold fire. I'll wait for the bulk of the enemy to get a little bit closer here, because we don't need to throw a 1/3 of our javelins at the first 30 troops, right? We really have to conserve here against 2,000 enemies. See you in hell. All right, we're ready today for this battle. We're recently defeated. I won't say at what village, but this Southern Empire with a very similar troop layout. In fact, if I remember right, they had like 500 elite Avliatons. They defeated us. So we're ready for some revenge here. The funnel's working, of course. Now we've opened fire. Look at our cav division plugging up the sandy walkway there. There's some skirmishing here on the outskirts. Get the fuck out of here. And so far, the enemy's being held back by this square. Now, these guys are getting pounded on, so we're going to start to move them, right? We're going to start to pull them with me. And what that's going to do is it's going to limit their... Holy shit, these guys are storming this side. That's going to limit their casualties, though. I can't move. I guess I'm stuck on all these troops or something. But I'm getting fucking swarmed here by shock troops. I was lucky to make it out of there. All right, let's start moving these units back. The 4th into a square, and the 6th can be the attacking division on this side, right? We'll move them back. We'll start to kite a little bit. It is too crowded of a battlefield to be like what I would consider a perfectly defendable area, but this is still a highly defensible area. The enemy's starting to zerg our square, right? So what we'll do with that, of course, is we will move the square, right? We won't just leave the square static as well. The death spam is highly in our favor so far. And almost as soon as I said that, the enemy roared up and started to inflict major casualties. This is a savage force. I mean, they just have a ton of elite Avliatons. Now they have Battanian Fiend champs just waiting in. How can they have so many Battanian Fiend champs on top of all these other elite troops? Like, this is the Southern Empire. Where the fuck did they get Battanian Fiend champs from? I'm going to help my guys here as the 3rd, 6th, and 8th all charge. I don't know, maybe this is the worst idea I've ever made. I'm getting swarmed by Battanian Fiend champs. It's an absolute fucking stacked shock troop enemy assault here. I probably should have stayed on my horse, but it's too late now, so we wade through this fucking maelstrom. It's all elite troops. I just feel like a dead man walking right now. Fortunately, my axe is fast, otherwise I would be dead. And they look like they're regrouping. Let's kill some of them on the way out here. Let's fucking find a few Battanian Fiend champs' backs, these fucking cowards with their javelins here, and then we will regroup as well. We want to hold this side. We're not going to invade their territory, so to speak. This is no man's land here, right? You World War I fans, this is where that's from. This kind of a setup here, and that came from the saying that no man can survive there. That's where that term comes from. All right, we're going to back up, reset these units. I'm going to try to duck out of the way of this onslaught of Battanian Fiend arrows. Seems like they have as many Fiend champs as we do. And we're going to try to reset for the next assault. Still, that was a highly successful first endeavor, even though it was bloody, even though I lost half my health. Considering the foe, I think we did pretty well there. Got to get to some cover here. Our units reset. I've got units running all over the place. I don't know if they're being disobedient or if I just missed a few commands here, but we'll reset these units here. Vital in a battle like this that you reset your units, take stock of what just happened, because it was so fast and furious. You sort of got to do like an inventory check. Pick up a horse here. I think I should stay on a horse in this battle. They just have so many shock troops, and even with 330 athleticism, you can only dodge so much. All right, we've got our funnel working, but I don't think we've had reinforcements yet. So this is a little tenuous, right? The enemy's coming up with more elite troops. Charge! Oh, the guy gets throttled. All right, they're zerging our square, which is good. We'll start pulling our squares to us now and see if we can't throttle these guys while they're occupied pounding on these squares. God, it's tempting to get off my horse though again, right? These guys are on foot, but I just don't think I can survive. Alright, we'll take our opportunity here to smoke some Battanian Fiend champs that are occupied. These fucking assholes. Of course, the enemy has all elite archers, too. I haven't seen a single tier 4 archer yet. Got the 8th Corps here dragging behind me, so we're trucking the fuck out of these guys. And I came out of there not too bad. We still have a third of our health. There's basically 3 different battles going on. Alright, the 6th Corps got this side covered. Let's back those guys up. In the center here, they're zerging the squares, but they're also taking horrendous archer fire. And the enemy is what I mean by that. The enemy is just being skewered. Now, this 3rd division of reinforcements, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the 1st as a bait ball. So they're sent to a square into the middle of the enemy formation. The third becomes a new skirmisher division. We'll pull them back. These archers are pulled back. I know I'm talking fast, but I'm trying to tell you guys everything that we're doing here. Very difficult to do all this and then give you guys good narration, but we're caffeinated and we're getting a little bit better the more we do this. All right, things are starting to look under control here. The enemy does have some horse archers kind of fighting in our midst here, but the archer battle is on now. And I think we can at least hold our own, right? Our army is definitely archer heavy. I would say it's 60% archer slash skirmisher slash crossbow. Die, you bastard! We're going to start pulling our square back here. Again, I've got this third corps is skirmishers, them anchored with the fourth archers. In fact, the fourth archers is a huge division, 94 guys. Thank you. We'll take your javelins here, buddy. And actually, this position right here, look at the position I'm in. I can put archers right here, and again, we talked about it before. I've got cover. The enemy can't shoot me at all. And I can effectively command the entire battle from where I am right now. Look at this guy coming up. Whoa, oh shit, your horse went flying, dude. He's crushed. And we're just going to hold this position. The enemy's shooting at our square. Well, these guys were in a square. Let's get the archers backed up here. All of these guys should have fresh ammo. In fact, it looks like that unit has a lot of ammunition. And for now, we're just going to engage in an ammunition battle against the enemy. We've already crushed two of their attacks, and we await the next onslaught. They look like they're reforming here. Let's get a horse and mow some of these fucks down, huh? Let's get the 8th Corps following me. There's still a handful of these hardy companions that are healthy. Straight to the jugular, right? As Napoleon said, sword to the kidney. Let's pursue. I think he said that when he was pursuing Wellington. Or no, I beg your pardon. It was when he was pursuing, what was his name? One of the lesser English generals. Let's fucking mow these guys down here. These guys look a little lost. We'll show them the lost and found. Dispatch these fucks here and await the next wave. Enemy is fleeing? You have won the battle? That was like the quickest battle. I did not expect. They must have had a huge amount of troops rout. Are you serious? The enemy is fleeing. Wow. Okay. Well, we did kill a lot in that flurry. But I don't know. I guess I gotta quote Teddy KGB from Rounders. You guys are familiar with Rounders will get this quote. Those that are not are going to be wondering what the fuck I'm saying. But just like a young band coming in for a quickie, I feel so unsatisfied. That is one of the iconic sayings from the end of the movie Rounders. Hopefully I didn't spoil it for any of you guys who haven't seen that before. We're going to ride forward here, though, with our flag of victory and see if there's any other troops left. This is amazing that they routed. I'm kind of like in denial that this battle's over. I mean, what was that? That was like an 8-minute furious quickie battle. What the fuck? Someone shoot me, motherfucker. I see you up there. Catch this, you fucking piece of shit. Fucking battalion fiend champ try to snipe the Jarl here. We usually aim for the feet of Jarl snipers, right? We want to wound those guys, and then we're going to slowly roast them to death. No, I jest. But that was an actual torture that they used for heretics, right? For people who didn't believe in the Roman Catholic Church. A lot of these guys, they would get like the most horrific penalties of all in the Inquisition era, 14, 15, 1600s in Europe. They wouldn't burn them to death, which is already savage enough. No, they would suspend them over a fire, and they would repeatedly lower them into the fire and then raise them out of the fire over hours or even sometimes days. If you still had faith in humanity, hopefully that ruins all your remaining faith in humanity. We are a vicious animal. All right, well, 1,200 Southern Empire forces eat shit. The 800 rest run like cowards. And this episode is complete. Hopefully, oh wait, I forgot. I will try to show you a custom battle using this exact same map here, and I will use mediocre troops against a stronger army than we have to hopefully show you, and I say hopefully because I might lose one of these, but we're going to try to win outnumbered 20 to 25%, and hopefully I can show you that even with a normal army, and in other words, a non-God mode army like we have here, that you could still win with these towns. these towns, I should say villages. Now, the nice thing about these villages, especially for the Aserai, is like I mentioned before, I think there are 7, 8, 9, maybe 10 of these exact villages all throughout the Aserai territory. So if you're being pursued, if you've got a much larger force like this attacking you, you can regroup, retreat to these villages, and hopefully you can give them a beating like we did just there. Now, like I said, we'll do a little magic editing here, and we will try a custom battle after this and see if we can pull this off with mediocre troops. Alright, so let's do this. We'll do a custom battle here. We are going to play the Aserai. It seems appropriate, and I know the map says Mossum. It's a little strange, but that's because there's a bunch of these different villages that all have this same layout for the Aserai. We'll give the Northern Empire here a nice armed force, and this is pretty realistic, right? If you're playing the Aserai on the eastern part of the map, you might be facing the Northern Empire. We'll allow them to outnumber us by 90-ish troops, and I think I'll give us a few more archers here. I would recommend a few more archers here, but I'm pretty sure we can use this same battlefield here at Mossum. I can't actually remember what the other battlefield name was, the one I fought in the previous episode or previous battle, but as you can see here, it's the same battlefield, right? It's picturesque. It's probably why the creators at Tale Worlds reused it, because they want to make sure you don't miss this beautiful, picturesque, but also highly tactical battlefield. So a little different configuration of my units here. I get a little bit confused sometimes because I use a little different configuration depending on which faction, on which kingdom I'm using, but I'll try to basically tell you. Now I'm going to have two different archer divisions, the 4th and the 5th. Of course, we'll have 3 infantry divisions, and I'd like to have my 4th division be stronger archers. Those guys will be more exposed, but they'll also be shooting more from the get-go. We'll keep the 5th archers on the left flank here more protected. Obviously, that rock wall provides incredible protection to the left flank. Now the 6th will be skirmishers. Again, I select our javelins and shields, and that gives you more skirmishers in that division. I typically use the 1st division, as you guys are aware, as my bait ball, right? That's my square out in front. I just want them to have shields. The 3rd division will be my slaughter division, right? My shock division. However you set this up is fine. You obviously don't have to emulate exactly what I'm doing here, but obviously if you do and you execute similar tactics, you will be successful. As you can see, the 3rd Corps here is entirely composed of two-handed axe motherfuckers, and you get that in part by assigning that 1st division pikes, shields, and low priority or low quality troops. Alright, you can see the 1st tier is in their square, right? And it's not going to be very strong, but it's going to be a nice distraction for the enemy. Of course, we'll move it. The 2nd division will be strong cav, right? These jav cav, and we'll probably use them defensively initially and maybe offensively later. And the 7th cav, I've got a couple ideas. We could do a circle. We can actually have the square inside of a circle, so we could have 2 different distractionary forces, right? We could have a square inside the circle like that, or we can do double squares or even a wedge or something like that, right? What we basically want to do though is plug up that pathway next to the lake, force the enemy into the lake, and or force them through some of the narrow openings so our archers can score a lot more hits. On this side, on this right side, we'll have the skirmishers and I think the 4th Corps, as well as the horse archers, right? So elite archers over there, lots of elite archers. The horse archers can shoot from there. This is not a good battlefield map for horse archers, of course, because it's so cramped. And that's true of a lot of these different village maps. Honestly, if I was playing Khazate, I might even dismount horse archers pretty early on in a battle. I might try to use their horses to plug up a gap somewhere and then have them dismount. Alright, so 3rd Corps over here, out of sight, right? The enemy literally has to approach these guys, and who wants to approach shock troops face to face? Nobody, right? This is like a bad Halloween episode, or a bad nightmare people have had, where there's an axe murderer lurking around the corner. The 1st square and this 7th, we'll try in a circle here, but I don't suspect it's going to work very well. So here we'll have the 6th skirmishers, right? These guys are your javelin throwers and a solid shield division. We can square them as well. So they'll be in front of the 4th archers. The 4th archers are the better of the 2 archer divisions, positioned back here so that they can rain damage and shoot a lot of arrows into the enemy. Typically your higher ranked archers have 2 quivers of arrows, right? So I don't mind them shooting early on in a battle because they're not likely to run out of ammunition until the later stages of it. Alright, so I already got my 7th division confused because in a lot of other campaigns my 7th is horse archers. In this battle the 8th is horse archers. It probably won't be the last time that I fuck that up. Alright, let's just use them both as squares. No, not a wedge, as a square. And all we're trying to do, like I said, is slow down the enemy assault through this opening. Right? If we can slow them down, that gives our archers more time. You see, I'm running into shit. There's all kinds of things for their units to get stuck on and run into. And when you put a bunch of units there in front of them, it's even more things for them to get stuck on. Now, they're killing these guys, right? I lost some guys there on the charge. That's because these are low-level troops. These are our weakest troops. And there were plenty of militaries that would act like this in battle. Instead of an elite vanguard out front, they would actually have scrubs and try to pound the enemy, also try to lure the enemy into a false sense of security, which oftentimes led commanders on the enemy side to do sort of foolhardy, rash decisions, right? They're like, oh, this army is going to be easy to crush, and they'd sort of lose their focus and concentration. Now, we're mostly just using these guys as bait, right? As the enemy vanguard comes in, you can see it rolling in there. We're going to roll it back, move it back, trying to get their attention with our square here. And I've got an idea. They have a ton of archers. I don't want our shock troops getting skewered here by the archers. So let's use our 2nd Cav Division and put it behind the enemy as soon as they've bitten on this infantry square, and then our shock troops here will be protected from the enemy archers. We could just put the 2nd Cav right behind the enemy here, and then send in this 3rd unit. I'll be able to send them in a lot more confident that they're not going to take damage. And talk about a good spot for me to command here, right? I can just stand here, tell the 2nd Corps to go there, tell the 3rd Corps to wade in. Those guys are on hold fire now, so they're swinging their axes only. Now they're close to the enemy. You tell them, kill everything in sight. The enemy's now pinched in between elite cav, archer fire, and shock troops. And meanwhile, this fucking guy, always some stupid fuck trying to bother me. Get the fuck out. Alright, so our shock troops, you can tell that they've reached the enemy, right? The green death spam started to fill the screen, and the enemy vanguard basically just got immolated. In fact, it was dead so quickly, we're going to pull these guys back. And see what the enemy does now. We'll pull a couple of these units back. We can put our infantry division into a shield wall here and effectively await the next enemy decision here. They've got some troops still waiting in there, but I'm just going to let our archers work on them, right? The guys in the square are holding out, and look at the death spam, right? The master archers are racking up kills. I can just sit here while our enemy gets skewered, have a nice cup of Arabian coffee. Of course, if you didn't know, that's where coffee came from, right? It's from Arabia. It's very, very common amongst their traders that they would serve coffee up. In fact, in a lot of cases, that was like essentially required to trade with Persian or Arabic traders, like in the, I don't know, I want to say 12th, 13th, 14th century, is before you negotiated, before you sat down and talked business, you would have a nice cup of coffee. Of course, not the foo-foo shit today, packed with sugar and cream and shit like that, but some probably very rich, high-quality, fresh coffee. And a lot of times they would put herbs in it and spices, things like cardamom, cinnamon, things like that. All right, so the enemy seems to be skirmishing with horse archers here. We may do a little bit more food history if there's a break in the action here as they get reinforcements. But until they do that, what we're going to do is we're going to pull our units into cover. In fact, I might even pull our 1st Corps into cover here. These guys in a square are getting killed, just getting shot at long range. And so, again, we will pull them to cover as well. In fact, it kind of looks like the enemy, after that complete beating, and this battle's over, by the way. I probably could just stop the episode, but I do want to show people how you deal with this kind of situation. Basically going to hide our vulnerable units. We'll put them under cover. And usually that forces the enemy to approach. But I want to show guys what to do if you're in a ranged battle like this. And you're either trying to conserve ammunition, or maybe you have no ammunition, right? And you're depending on the enemy attacking you. Well, the answer is you hide up against these rocks. They're forced, because they're the attacker in this situation, to approach us, and eventually they will do so. So a huge fan of history, but also food history. There's an amazing book. I can't remember, Tom Standridge or something Standridge. It's called The Edible History of Humanity, and it's an amazing, easy read. It's like 200 pages, and it's just packed with cool stats. Cool stories, cool historical analogs. And also anecdotes, right? We'll actually speak English here. If we're going to do a little narration for you fellas, I'm sure you'd prefer I spoke rational and intelligible English. All right, so the enemy's being stubborn here, so we're really going to start tucking our units in here. In the name of sort of a complete tactical channel, we're gonna basically teach you how to deal with an archer with the enemy pounding you at range with ammunition. Right. In this situation, obviously, the enemy is terrified, and I don't blame them. But they're gonna take the annoying process here and just try to shoot us with 5,000 arrows instead of actually attacking us like real men. So we're going to use these two different sides, hide behind our boulders here, and force them to come around the corner, right? We're going to basically force them to kill themselves on our axe-murdering motherfuckers, right? And this may take a minute, or it might take 3 minutes. It kind of depends on how tightly you can get packed in here on the rocks. All right, so a little bit more food history as we tuck our units in here, and all I'm doing is kind of individually just moving these guys in a square and tucking behind these boulders. I believe it was after one of the major sieges of Vienna, probably the one that occurred in about the 1650s, 1660s era. After the I guess you could call them Christian or Western Empire, well, not Western Empire like Calradia, of course. I mean like the Holy Roman Empire. They eventually defeated the Turks at the Siege of Vienna. There was a huge cavalry charge. If I remember right, it was one of the largest cavalry charges like in all history, led by, God, what was his name? It was one of those Poles who has one of those cool names like Stanislaw Zszczynski or something like that. He basically he had and led an incredible cavalry charge that was attacking this Arabian force outside the city, the capital of Vienna, this huge citadel of the Holy Roman Empire. Look at these stubborn fucks creeping up slowly. And after the victory, it is pretty well reputed and reported that the Allied side, they sort of ceremoniously decided to eat their enemies. And I don't mean literal. It wasn't cannibalism. I'm not trying to mislead you here. But what they did is they had their bakers build the symbols effectively of some of the heraldry of the enemy, which included a sort of crescent-shaped moon, right? Anybody who's sort of seen Arabic war flags and stuff like that is sort of a crescent-shaped, and they made these pastries out of this sort of crescent-shaped, which of course you're probably starting to get it. This is where the croissant comes from, right? This is the origin of it. There's a small chance that this is not the exact origin, but I'm pretty sure that's the origin of the croissant, and I think it's a really interesting story that they chose to eat their enemies, sort of symbolically to celebrate their victory. Now they're still shooting my archers here, this fucking piece of shit stalling enemy. So we're going to do more story time here as we continue to tuck our units into the tightest part of this rocks. I realize a lot of users are probably X'd out at this stage. If you've struggled with this situation before, though, where you are out of ammunition, maybe you have all infantry and you're fighting an archery group, this is one way to defeat them. Eventually, they will come around this corner, and these fucking hardened two-handed axe motherfuckers are going to have their satisfaction, right? We will fully tuck these guys around the corner here at this stage and make the enemy come up here. And it looks like we've got time for one more story. I'm watching those numbers kind of at the center of the screen there, 50 and 51. Those numbers at the bottom will start getting lower as they start getting closer to us. But it reminds me of one of the critical battles between the Spanish, and I want to say it was the Incans, it might be the Aztecs. I do apologize, sometimes the details of my historical knowledge isn't always spot on. Of course, I'm doing this while I narrate and try to provide some level of sort of intelligible narration. Okay, these fucks are still trying to gain an angle on us and shoot us. Fuck you guys. This is going to be satisfying to finally skewer these insolent fucking... waste our time, waste your time. So anyway, so the Incans, were destroyed by this Spanish force. And the Spanish had cavalry, right? They were hugely outnumbered, but I think they had artillery and cavalry. Well, the Incas were so confident of victory that they had prepared basically a feast, a celebratory victory feast after the battle, right? They were literally having their cooks get the feast ready, so after the Spanish were destroyed, they could have food. So they had peppers, they had a bunch of other spices, and they had big cauldrons full of boiling water, and all they needed was the meat. And it is well reputed, or perhaps just well rumored, that they were fully intending on eating the Spanish after the victory. The Spanish discovered these pots right after they were victorious, and they were like, oh shit, thank goodness we won, because otherwise we would have been part of the first batches of chili here. And indeed, this is some of the origins of chili, right? True chili, of course, most Americans, or most people overseas probably don't know this, but people from Texas will tell you, here they come for the slaughter, and we're just going to rush out here and obliterate them now that they're coming around the corner. But true chili does not have beans in it, right? In fact, if you talk to a Texan, a lot of Texans will tell you it's like a mortal sin to put beans in chili. Anyway, so a little bit more food history there. The original chili came from the notion that the Aztecs or the Incas, I can't remember which, I apologize, were going to eat the Spaniards after this battle, and for the Spaniards' sake, fortunately, they were victorious. All right, the enemy just suicided here. We can conclude by eating the enemy here, right? All of our units spread out and charge. The 3rd Division charges, our heavy cav charges here, and the enemy dies, right? I already know the results. You know the results, right? The two-handed weapon motherfuckers wade in here. We already outnumbered the enemy, and they get completely enveloped, and the screen says it all, right? It's just 1 kill for the enemy out of every 20 allied kills. Their archers are shot in the face. Those that don't get shot in the face get chopped to pieces and into the bowl of chili, right? I presume that's what we're going to do here, because this foe here annoyed us and took too long to die, right? And kicked this guy, fucking assholes. And we conclude this battle. All right, I digress here. That's this long episode. Hopefully, at least you got a few historical anecdotes out of this. Again, this book is called, I think it's called The Edible History of Humanity, and I highly recommend it. And I highly recommend you defend this village and Bannerlord. In fact, look at how successful this was, right? We lost less than a third of our troops, even though we're outnumbered by 20%. This is an incredible success. You would never obtain this kind of result in the open field, and you might struggle to obtain this kind of result in a castle, which is why I say a lot of these village defenses are actually stronger in some cases than castles. All right, the last bit of comedy we're going to do. I realize there's probably like 2 hardy watchers at this stage watching, maybe because they like the voice of Sean Strickland. We are going to let the AI fumble fuck its way through this episode. These have sort of turned into comedy hour here. I'm fresh out of historical anecdotes, so you'll just have to rely on the enemy here, or the allied AI, to butcher this as bad as they can. I will cheer for victory, because I know all our commander has to do is do exactly what I did. In fact, he said we're going to hold this narrow pass. But if you hear him, he's issuing like 10 different commands a second. Hold, forward, hold, forward, hold, forward, hold, forward. I'm not quite certain if he had too much coffee. Maybe he had 25 cups of Arabian coffee this morning or something like that. But this is not a good defense. He has his infantry. Okay, at least he's going to square his infantry or shield his infantry. But I don't know what the fuck his archers are doing. I want to yell at him, get your archers back, you stupid fuck. Instead, he's got them tightly packed, as if they're going to play a big game of combat twister here. These guys are as tight as they can be. Most of them can't shoot at all. They've got a horse in the way, or they've got infantry in the way. Now it honestly looks like they're trying to charge with their archers. Now they're roaring like they are charging. Who are they charging? Their own infantry? And listen to him yelling his commands. He's giving like it's like he's got Tourette's. And I apologize if you know someone who has Tourette's. I don't typically make fun of people with disabilities, but that's what he sounds like. He's like, fuck, forward, back up, move, forward, attack. He's just like, and again, it shows you how bad the artificial intelligence is, right? This is supposedly we're trying to defend the pass here, but This horse goes flying over my head. Evidently, he thinks defending the pass means stacking your units as tightly as you possibly can, and then pray that your superior numbers, which we don't have, will help you to victory here. This really is about as bad as it could be. I don't actually know what to say about it other than, you know, it really is comedy. We will save you the excruciating next 5 minutes here. We'll speed this up here, and just what a fucking catastrophe. Okay, we've already lost. You can tell from the numbers. In fact, I won't make you watch this entire grueling component here. We will wrap this up here. Don't fight like them. Hopefully you can see what we did in our battle here, both the battles here, both with the custom battle and with our strong army, and you can defend this village for your own. All right, comedy hour is over. So I appreciate you fellas for watching, especially if you're watching to this state. You must just love combat, tactics, and Bannerlord as much as I do. Obviously, I love Bannerlord. I love combat and tactics. I love history, and I appreciate you guys for supporting my channel. Please come by again sometimes. Please subscribe if you want to see more combat tactics. I'm going to continue this village series where we explore Calradia and look for choke points like this, and these can be immensely useful in your campaign, right? You're being chased or you get cornered by a couple different strong forces in the open. Even if you have 200 troops, you should be able to pull off this kind of a choke point on this battlefield. I wish you the best of luck out there, friends. Please subscribe, please like and comment and all that good stuff. I appreciate your support for the channel. All that said, know how it goes, fellas. I will see you guys next time.